In this session, I want to dig into that black box to focus on what we know about how consumers react to CSR initiatives by firms. There's a great deal of research on this topic, and I encourage you to explore your areas of interest. A great starting point is an excellent book which summarizes the research. It's called Leveraging Corporate Responsibility by Bhattacharya, Sen, and Korshin, published in 2011. Many CSR activities create value directly through enhancing revenue or through decreasing cost. This includes initiatives such as using less electricity in manufacturing processes, eliminating harmful waste, or recycling more. As marketers, however, we're interested in how we can create value through an indirect route, through one of our chief stakeholders, our customers. When a firm adopts corporate social responsibility behaviors, how do consumers react, both in relation to our business or our firm, but also in relation to the societal cause we've adopted? What's going on in their minds? Well, one of the challenges in answering that question is that no two customers are alike. Individual differences among your customer base play a significant role in determining how they'll interpret what your firm does and whether they'll react positively, negatively, or not at all to your CSR efforts. After reviewing the empirical research on consumer reactions, Bhattacharya and his colleagues suggest that a general framework actually can be built which takes into account these differences. The first set of factors refers to the CSR activity itself, or more specifically, what the stakeholders see and hear. This includes the issue that the actions address that the firm is undertaking, how the programs are implemented, and the extent to which the company allocates resources to the program. Now, these all must be communicated in some way to the stakeholder, whether it's through the products the firm creates, how they're packaged, through the firm's annual report, through its website, whatever way the firm decides to make their efforts public. Now, on the other side, what are the outcomes that we're hoping to achieve with these efforts? How are we hoping to create value through these efforts? Well, we're hoping to create value through two drivers: customers' engagement with our business and customers' engagement with the issue. If our CSR activities are properly designed and communicated, and that's a significant challenge, then we anticipate that customers will increase their purchase of our product, be more loyal to our firm, have greater willingness to pay, and finally, they'll share their enthusiasm for our firm with others through word of mouth. However, if our CSR initiative is something we're truly passionate about, then we also hope that our effort will create value by enhancing our customers' engagement with the issue, that they'll become advocates for the cause and will actually change their behavior to better support the issue. Now, what determines if this value is created? How do we get from CSR inputs, CSR actions that the firm takes, to this value creation? Well, there are two main sets of factors that determine that. The first set of factors, which we'll call the 3 U's, has to do with the psychological drivers of the customers themselves. What do they take in from a firm's communication efforts? How do they interpret what they hear? These 3 U's are called understanding, usefulness, and unity. And let's look at them in more detail. Studies in psychology and marketing both look at how people interpret messages they receive. For a message or action to have any impact on its recipient, the message must be understood. In the case of CSR actions, for the consumer to gain understanding, he has to be aware of the activity. And breaking through the clutter of the many messages we all receive today is a real challenge. So even the very basis for understanding, awareness, represents a challenge to marketers in creating value. Now, if the customer does perceive the CSR activity, if they're aware of it, then they're likely to make attributions about the underlying motivations or why the firm is engaging in this activity. He or she might ask themselves, why is this company engaging in this activity? Does this firm really care about this cause? Or is it simply trying to make more money by appealing to people who do? Or is this firm trying to cover up for bad behavior in this arena, some other arena? Right? Motivations that suggest the firm is acting primarily for its own self-interest are called extrinsic motivations, while motivations that are driven by a firm's sincere wish to do good are called intrinsic motivations. These aren't two extreme ends of one scale. They're actually two different types of motivations, and firms can have both at the same time. In fact, some of the empirical research cited in this text states that consumers actually reward firms who have both extrinsic and intrinsic motivations for their CSR efforts, firms that are doing well and doing good. The third element under understanding is the efficacy of the effort. How effective is the CSR activity? How well is the money spent? Are meaningful outcomes actually achieved? That's important when customers try to understand the CSR actions. The second U is usefulness. How successful is the CSR activity in fulfilling the customer's needs? Now, needs can be functional. Some of these needs are functional. Does the CSR activity, for example, a hybrid car, does it do what the customer needs it to do? If it provides transportation with lower emissions, less fuel consumption, then the answer is yes. The second element to usefulness is identity-related benefits. This relates to the thoughts and feelings people may have about their self-image. Does a hybrid car contribute to someone's self-image? Does it help them maintain their self-esteem and self-continuity? If they're a person who is environmentally aware, and yet someone who must own a car for their work, then absolutely. They're able to continue to be the person they perceive themselves to be, an environmentally aware person, even while driving many kilometers each week. The third U is unity. Unity involves a sense of overlap between the customer's self-identity and what they perceive the firm to stand for. It also includes a sense of trust that the customer has in the firm to do what is right today and also in the future. We say that a firm has achieved unity when stakeholders form strong and enduring bonds with the company. If you've been in marketing for a while, you'll think of this as strong brand equity or a brand that has resonance with your customers. Each of these three U's serves as a lever that moves customers to respond positively to the CSR initiatives of the firm. However, as we stated in the beginning, not all customers are alike. So the final major element in the framework proposed by Bhattacharya, Sen, and Korshan are contingency factors that influence the links between inputs, psychological processes, and outcomes. And these contingency factors can be thought of as multipliers, both in the positive and the negative sense. We'll go through them here briefly. For customers, the characteristics that can strengthen or diminish their response to the firm's CSR activities include how close the customer feels to the firm or the CSR activity, how much the customer cares about the cause, and also the demographics of the customer. For example, there's some research that shows that individuals with higher incomes and higher education are more attracted to CSR actions. Company characteristics that can enhance or detract from the impact of CSR actions include the following. First of all, the type of CSR the firm chooses. Is it distinctive? Meaning, is it innovative or unique? Unique programs are more likely to catch the attentions of customers and break through the clutter than Me Too programs are. The second firm characteristic is fit. Fit matters. To what extent do customers perceive a link between the issue addressed in the CSR activity and the firm's products, the firm's brand image, and its position in the market? Third, how does the firm communicate its CSR actions? While communication is important to make customers aware, over-communicating that's done solely by the firm with no third-party validation may make the firm appear to be opportunistic. And we're going to talk about communication in more detail in a later session. Fourth, the core business that the firm is in can influence perceptions consumers take away from CSR initiative. Empirical research has found that firms that make poor quality products actually get penalized for investing in CSR activities. It's almost as if the customers don't believe that they have the bandwidth to be investing in such things as CSR until they've taken care of their core business. Research has also found that how the firm has positioned itself can influence the degree to which understanding, usefulness, and unity will develop. In particular, firms that have brands that are positioned as CSR brands get a much greater bang for the buck than brands that are not. Finally, company characteristics such as reputation, size, and culture all play a role in how customers interpret and make sense of how they understand the CSR activity of the firm. Now, that's a lot of information in one session, so what are some of the key takeaways? First, it's important to remember that positive customer responses to CSR actions are not guaranteed. As the framework shows, there are many factors that can intervene between doing a CSR activity and creating value. Second, the responses that your customers have will be driven by these psychological processes in which they interpret the CSR activities of the company. Third, managers who understand these processes are best positioned to create meaningful CSR activities and then communicate them appropriately so that in the end, value is created.